Hi everybody, it's Angelique coming to you live from the Shoe Chick Art Studio in fabulous downtown Las Vegas. Woo woo! Today we are doing Cast Your Care. I like the name of this painting because when I looked at it at first I was going to call it solo or something to do with singing, but what is it? It's January 9th today, and we've had some pretty crazy events this week. And so I thought, we all need to be in prayer right now. And when I looked at this, I was just like, you know what? I think it should be called Cast Your Care. So this is what we're painting today. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Angelique, and I am the owner of the Shoe Chick Art Studio in fabulous downtown Las Vegas, because when you paint with me, kids in Africa get shoes. And if you want to hear more or learn more about me and what exactly that means, you can visit my website at theshoechickstore.com. And it's a store because there's stuff there that you can buy, okay? So let's get into it. So this is Paint Party 101. In case this is your first time painting with me, that means you're not going to learn anything fancy today. It's all about having fun and entertainment purposes only. I take you about 90% through this painting, and then you are left to finish it on your own. Most of my paintings are pre-traced, a couple of trees and a couple of nature scenes that I have in my Paint Party supply. Are not traced, just like 2 or 3 of them, but for the most part they are traced just like this. And what I do is, like I said, take you 90% through. I'm going to try to fix this a little bit better. 90% through, and then leave you alone to finish it. This one, fairly easy. Oh, look at my hair right there. Fairly easy. It's going to take you, I'm going to take you probably 30 minutes. It depends on, difficulty level and whatnot. And if you get stressed out and stuff, just pause me and rewind me and watch it again. I personally think you should watch the video through, all the way through, and then paint the picture. But it depends on what kind of setting you're in. Maybe you're by yourself, enjoying a nice glass of wine and painting, and you're not OCD about keeping up exactly like mine, which is great. Or maybe you're with a big group. So I don't know what you're doing, but just know that you can pause me if I'm going too fast, okay? Because I probably will go a little fast. So I want to go over the stuff in your kit. You have a disposable apron. It opens up. This one's been used. It opens up and it goes over your head, okay? You might want to put a little water on your fingertips so you can open the apron up. And in your little kit like this, you have a little flyer about me. It has my phone number at the top. It has some other pictures of the paintings that I have available. You got like a sponge brush, another brush. You have a piece of candy. And people ask me, why you put that piece of candy in? Because I think it's fun, that's why. And it's only 70 calories, and it's just a cool thing to do. So that's my little special treat for you. And sugar makes us happy, right? And in your paint. So take all of the lids and all that stuff off of your paint and tapes if I ship them to you, because I do ship kits. And on the back of your canvas is a disposable easel back. Looks a little something like this, and it's laying flat. If you push those flaps up, push this piece down very gently, and it's important that you get in that last groove right there. It will secure very nicely, and your canvas will stand on your tabletop very nicely. Also, for those who picked up curbside, I don't think when you ship them you get this, but it comes in a white bag. The white bag you can use to protect the surface that you're painting on from paint. We are painting, and we always paint with acrylic paints, my favorite medium to paint with, because it washes very easily off your skin, and they're just an easy medium to work with, okay, for beginners. So what we always do when we start is we use our sponge brush, and if you paint with me, if you're going to be painting with me a lot, I would encourage you to invest in some cool paint brushes. We use sponge brushes. Mostly the reason why I use sponge brushes for coverage. They're big, they're inexpensive, and I can keep the cost of my kits down. So if you are going to paint with me a lot, I'd recommend investing in some paint brushes, and use your biggest brush for this part. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to go right into my water cup. That cup that you got to fill it halfway with the hot water, by the way. I'm going right into my water cup, and then I'm putting a light coat of water on my canvas in just 1 minute. I got to move the original, because I don't want the original to get all messed up. So I'm moving my original. Okay, so light coat of water, and what we're doing is we're activating the canvas so that it is ready to accept paint. Because they're dry and brittle and all that, you don't have to worry about washing away the trace lines. They're a little bit more than pencil, so they're not going to wash away. But you do want to be a little careful. And we're going to put a little bit of water on the sides, and we don't want it dripping wet. If it's all drippy wet, what you're going to do is you're going to take that blue paper towel that's in your kit, and you're going to kind of just give it a light pat, okay? So light coat of water on there. I don't want it to be super wet. I am painting sideways, so my painting is not going to look nearly as good as yours or nearly as good as the original. And that's not my objective. My objective is to give you the lay of the land so you know how to do it, okay? This is the reference photo that you have in your kit. This is for all you OCD people, all you obsessive, compulsive, disorderly people that are going to want to create it exactly like this. I don't really feel like that's the objective because that's not fun. The fun part is putting your own spin on it or getting close to this if you want. Whatever your objective is, it's what it is, right? Art is a reflection of who you are in this moment. So make it yours. If you want to switch something up, you don't have too many colors to work with, but maybe you have some colors of your own. Switch it up. Do what you want to do. It is your painting. Okay, the first thing that we always do is that we paint the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint the background gray. And if you look in your kit, you don't have gray, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of white paint. We're going to take a little bit of white paint and a little bit of black paint and put it in our mixing tray here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of white. And I get messy when I paint. I don't know about you, but I don't really care about getting paint in my hands. I've been painting today. That's my work today so far. Or you can put some gloves on. Like I said, it really does wash very easily off of your skin. Then I'm going to put a little black paint. Now, if you're having trouble getting the paint out, you can use the back of your paintbrush and just wipe it off with your blue paper towel. Like I said, it gets a little messy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sponge brush and I'm going to take a little bit of black paint and I'm going to go into my white. And I just use a tiny, tiny bit because black is really powerful color. Tiny, tiny, tiny bit, tiny. And went into my white paint and I made gray. I hope that you can see that. I want it to be a little bit darker, just a tad bit darker, okay? I don't want it too dark. If you look at the reference photo, it's a really, really light gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking the tip of my sponge brush and I am outlining her. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the background in. Now my outline isn't perfect, but you can go right on top of the trace line to outliner. Okay, and there's going to be some little spaces that we're going to have to use the other paintbrush for. And like I said, painting sideways is a little tricky, so I have to scoot up a little bit and paint it in. Okay, now if you notice at the bottom of your canvas, there is a little line showing where the ground starts, the brown part's going to be in the painting. So you can stop a little short of that line, or you can outline it even if you want. Draw a straight line across so you'll know that that's where the gray is going to stop, okay? So this is going to take a little while. So I'm going right on top of the trace lines. And if it's difficult for you to use the sponge brush, you can change brushes and use the other brush that you have. But I just like using the sponge brush. Because I just want to use one brush right now. But if it's difficult for you, use the flat tip paintbrush that's in your kit. You have two more. You have a skinny, a pointy one, and the flat. Use a flat tip one and outline it, and then go back to your sponge brush if that's more comfortable for you. Okay. So I've outlined her pretty decently, and then I'm going to paint the background in gray. Play a little music for you. You probably have your own music. Today, I usually drink Chardonnay, but today I'm drinking, it's early. It's like mid-afternoon here. Diet Dr. Pepper. And some water. So, it's a church painting, right? So, I'm being good today. But anyway, okay, so let me play my little nondescript music so I don't tag my video and take it down because that really sucks when that happens. So, but I gotta have some music to get me through this painting, okay? Enjoy the experience. If your paint gets a little sticky, put a little bit of water in your paintbrush, okay? using the tip of my brush or the flat of my brush, create the result that you want, okay? I'm making some more gray paint because I'm out. Putting a little bit of white paint in and a little bit of black, mixing it up for me. It's a little too dark. It's a little darker, but I'm okay with that. So if you check out my paint here, like I let some of the white come through in the background. I'm not concerned with it being totally gray and solid. You might want yours totally gray and solid. If you look at the reference photo, it's kind of streaky. If you decided you want that streaky effect and you've done it all solid gray, you could put a little bit of white on your paintbrush and just add the streaks. If you want to blend it in a little bit more, you're going to add a little bit of water to your paintbrush. This area is gray right there. Don't forget that area in between her arm and her hip there. That is gray, okay? You guys good with that? I'm good with that. So, we're not really going to use this paintbrush anymore. I'm debating because we have this large area at the bottom, which is the brown part. We can use this paint. I think I'm going to use it and paint the brown part at the bottom. So I don't usually do this because it gets kind of messy. You don't have to do this. You can use the other paintbrush if you want. But I'm going to squish my sponge brush in there. Then I'm going to squeeze the white paint off there, the gray that I did. Then I'm going to dry it off with my paper towel. And I am going to do the brown at the bottom, like the wood floor that she's on. And I dropped my brown paint, so I have to get off the floor. That's the great thing about doing lives, is you never know what's going to happen. And I'm kind of messy. Okay, so I got my brown paint. Good thing the lid was still on it. So I'm going to take the lid off here, and then I'm going to go directly into my brown paint. And the reason why I wanted to use my sponge brush for this, because it's kind of a large area on this 16 by 20 canvas. And I'm going to paint horizontally, which is rare. You usually do vertical brush strokes, but I'm going to paint horizontally and paint the ground, the wood floor that she's standing on. And like I said, if you don't want to do all that, you can certainly use a different paintbrush. But I'm going to make the most of this sponge brush today and paint the ground in right up to where the gray stops, okay? So it doesn't look like much right now. But the great thing about painting, it's a journey, not a race. It's all going to come together, okay? And it takes a little while. Like when I leave you, your painting's going to be nowhere near done, okay? You have to touch it up and play around with it a little bit. So, okay, I'm looking at the reference photo. That's why I'm looking down. My reference photo is next to me, and I'm trying to decide what we are going to paint next. And I'm thinking that we're going to do her brown skin and the brown on the tambourine. So we're going to use the flat tip brush that you have here. And I'm not even going to put any water in it. I'm just going to go right into my brown paint. And then I'm going to paint her skin. Now, if you're going to paint her lighter, I still recommend outlining her with the dark brown because it creates a little bit of a contrast between her skin and the outliner for her arm. And I'm actually going to outline her first, and then I'm going to mix a little white with the brown and and color her beautiful brown skin in. Okay, so I have the dark brown. I'm going to go around that tambourine there, and it's kind of a bold, broader line around the tambourine. It's not just actually going on top of the trace line. You're going to have to use the flat of the brush and come around and make it a little bit thicker, okay? Meet her at her hip there. We can clean up that shaping when we put the white paint in there if it's not round like you want it, okay? So when I'm adding to her skin color, when I'm painting her skin color, you might still have a little bit of white in your tray. We're done with this, by the way, and you don't want to put it in your water. Just lay it aside. I'm going to do kind of like exactly like when we made the gray. I'm going to put a little bit of white, and then I'm going to put a little bit of brown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of white to the brown. And it just takes a little bit because we don't have much skin color to do. And I'm going to make a lighter shade of the brown by mixing a little bit. I hope you can see that. Mixing a little bit of white in with the brown. So I'm going to add just a little bit more. And then I'm going to paint her skin in. And I want a little bit of contrast between the outline and her actual skin. So you might like a lot of contrast. You might like a little. If you like a lot of contrast, don't try to blend it in. If you want a little bit of contrast, you're going to blend it in, okay? And it's totally up to you. I'm going to blend mine in a little bit. So I have the outline, and then I'm going right on top of it, kind of softening it up a little bit, going right on top of the dark outline I did, and lightening up to kind of blend in. Her hand's kind of tricky, so you're going to have to just look at the reference photo, go on top of those lines, and kind of work it out. All right? So that's the best way I can describe it to you. So if you see what I just did, I just put the light over to the dark, and look her hand just showed up, just like that. Looks great. I'm cool with it. Okay? Because these are impressionistic paintings, like a little cartoonish. So we're not trying to make it look like a real live hand. We just want you to get an idea of what we're doing. This lady praising, okay? So anyway, okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do purple. I'm saving the black for last because it's so bold. I'm swishing my brush around in my water cup, and then I'm wiping it off on my blue paper towel. And I'm going to paint right out of the purple cup, okay? So, trying to be careful where I put things because I'm not putting things where I usually put them. And I don't know why I'm not, so let me put them where I should put them. Okay, so going right out of my purple, gonna outline. See, I always tell people, like beginners, and this is Paint Party 101, that you outline what you want and then you paint it in. Remember the cool kids used to outline and like with shade. That's the same thing, kind of. But we're painting, we're not coloring. So we're just gonna outline everything that's gonna be purple. So the top part of our hat is purple, right? Little tiny bit of paint on the paintbrush too. Not big globs of paint. That's a common mistake that people make too. So I'm outlining that part of her hat, the brim of the hat. I'm even gonna outline this part right here, okay? Then I'm going to outline her purple dress. And if you notice, which I'm sure you have now, that there's some different color purple. Like her dress isn't just straight up purple, right? It's kind of lighter in some areas and darker in some areas. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to paint up purple first. And then I'm going to make a lighter purple, like a lavender color. And then I'm going to add it to the dress. So I'm going to outline it first and just paint it in purple, okay? So let's just paint it in purple. Paint it in purple. Remember, if it gets a little sticky, little bit of water. Now you might just like the shade of purple, and you might not want to play around with it. And I'm going right into the dirt there. I mean the flooring. Because we get to do some fun stuff at the bottom of the dress. So, dress is done. I'm going to go on to the hat. Again, if I'm going too fast, you're going to just pause me, right? Don't freak out on me. Alright, look how easy that was. But there's another part that's purple. We're going to outline the cross here. And I'm going to paint that part in purple right there. Ooh, this is hard. That's a long reach over there. Putting it in purple. Okay. Alright. Now I want to add a little bit of variation in the purple, okay? So in your tray you might have still a little bit of white. If you don't, you're going to pour a little bit of white, or you can even use a lid if you want, or you can pour it in your tray. My tray's pretty messy, so I'm just going to go and use the lid of my paint cup. And I'm just going to add a little bit of white here and there, and I'm going to blend it in with the purple, and you're going to see the effect that it creates. You're going to change the purple, the deep purple, to like a lavender. You might like it, you might not. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, let it dry, go over it again with a little bit of purple. So that's what I'm going to do. I want it to blend in more. So I'm going over it with purple. I'm adding a little bit of water to my paintbrush because my paint is getting a little bit sticky, and that helps blend the paint in as well. So just kind of play around with it for the effect that you want, because it's your painting and there's no right or wrong. It's all about what you want. Okay? You might even want her booty to be a little bigger. You know, like I'm looking at her right now, and her hips, they seem a little uneven to me. So I'm going to make them a little bit bigger, make her a little bit curvier. Then going on her to her head a little bit. Okay, the next color that we're going to use, I need to tighten this up a little bit. It's kind of hard because I'm painting sideways, but got a lot of gaps in it in a white paint. Okay. Alright, so the next step, the next color we're going to use is black. Every time we change, nope, I'm lying. The next color we're going to use is yellow. Because I want to get that yellow on the cross so that when we do the raise, that it'll all be dry. So, okay, so I'm going to swish my brush around the water. I'm going to wipe it off on my paper towel. And I'm going to go into my yellow paint. And I'm going to paint the cross. There's also a little yellow on our hat, but I can't do that. I usually like to do the color, use the color that I'm working with throughout the whole painting. But because the yellow has to go on top of the black on our hat, so we're going to wait a little while for that. Be careful not to smear your purple paint into your cross. We can fix that, of course. We can fix everything with acrylic paints. That's why I like painting with acrylic paints, because you just wait for it to dry, put a little white paint over it, and then do what you wanted to do because there are no mistakes. So the next thing that I want to do is, I noticed right here in the brim of the hat, I didn't paint that the light purple color that it is. So I'm going to go back and do that right now. I'm going to put a little bit of lavender inside the brim of the hat. I just swished my brush around in the water real quick and wiped it off, okay? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into black. Everything that's black. I have black still in my tray. I got black everywhere. I'm kind of messy right now. So I'm going to do the hat first because I want that part to dry. I'm outlining it. Fill it in. And then her hair. The hair's kind of tricky because the white is what really is going to make it look like a bun. So I'm outlining it and painting it in. But really what's going to bring that bun to life is when we put the white paint on there, okay? So I do want a bit of a hump in the paint curve right here going into her hat, okay? So don't miss that curve that's going into her hat and the curve that's coming out right here that makes it look like a bun. But all those other details, we're going to make come alive with the white paint that's going to be at the end, okay? So I'm just making sure that I have all the outlines, the curves in the outline, because the white is really what's going to bring it to life. Now if you look at, let's go up here and do our cross, outlining that with black. I'm doing the window frame in black, and then I'm doing, I don't know if you noticed, but black goes a long way. I'm not going back that much into my black paint. I just have a little tiny bit of it on the tip of my paintbrush. So be careful with the black paint. All right, so her belt, I don't know why my belt is so wide, because it isn't that wide on the painting, but I'm okay with it. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but my belt's like really wide, so I don't want it that wide, so I just made it thinner, and then I'm gonna kind of modify it a little bit. You can make yours wide, depending on what kind of trace job I did for you. Make her belt wider, skinny. Now, when you look at the reference photo, there's a lot of outlines that look darker. Take a little bit of your black paint and kind of drag it, just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of black paint, okay? And kind of drag it along the sides, around the curve of her dress. Tiny, tiny bit of black paint. Otherwise, it's going to look like a coloring book, and I don't really like it when it looks like a coloring book. If you look, pay attention to the detail on her dress, like a few lines, like drag. And I'm just doing those with my paintbrush, just adding a few lines here and there. And they're pretty light. If you make them really dark and you don't like it, I don't like to say, you make a mistake or an accident. Like this line right here is pretty dark. I'm just going to go over it with black, with purple. And when you go over it with the purple, it softens it up. Look at that. It almost makes it disappear. So have fun with that. Between the black and the purple, you get the flow of the dress going. Maybe you want the line to be a little bit more dark. And as you play around with it and you add the black and you soften it up, you'll get the desired effect that you want. Now look, when I did that yellow, I didn't want to do it on the hat because I had to paint the hat first. So I'm swishing my brush around in the water, wiping it off on my paper towel. And by the way, it doesn't matter how yucky your water gets. You just wipe it off on your paper towel and it's all good. So I'm going to go back into my yellow and I'm going to put a little dot here for her feathers in her hat. And then I'm going to go around this tambourine, and I'm going to put a few dots just randomly here and there for the little, I don't know, chimes? I don't know what you call those, symbols on the tambourine, because we want to make it look like a tambourine, right? All right. Look how much she's coming together. So that's like 90% done right there for you. But I'm having fun, so, well, I'm always having fun, but I want to keep painting with you a little bit more. Because I want to show you how to do I'm outlining her hat a little bit with the black. I want to show you how to do the feathers in the ray. And then the rest is just white little highlights, okay? So, the first thing we're going to do is the next thing that we're going to do is the feathers in our hat. So if you still have any of your lavender paint left, or you can just directly go into the purple and trust yourself. You can practice if you want on a piece of paper just to do some fun. I'm making hers big. Brush strokes going out from that yellow space. And then I'm just going to go right into my white paint. I'm painting from the lid. And I'm going right on top of it. Okay? And you can play around with that for a while. If you don't like the way it turned out, or if you think you need a little bit more purple in it, just go right on top of it. Don't be scared. Okay? Alright? If you don't like the way that it looks, I'm not even going back into my water. I'm just wiping it off on the paper towel and going back into the white. I'm just going to add a little bit of white on top. It's nice if you let it dry a little bit too. If you keep messing around with it and you want to keep messing around with it, let it dry a little bit in between the coats. Now I have white on my paintbrush. I'm going to use the white to kind of tighten up this, the look of the tambourine. If it's not quite a circle, you might want to make it a circle. You might want to put a little bit of gray paint in there. I have a little bit of purple on my paintbrush, so I'm switching it off. I'm going back into that gray that I had in my tray, and I'm putting a little bit of gray in there because this is a used tambourine. She's been using it, okay, so it doesn't need to be sparkly white. So I'm going to put a little bit of gray around the edges. Makes it look like it has a little shape to it. Looks like, okay. And then I'm going to add, because the acrylic paints, one of the great things about using acrylic paints is that they dry very quickly. So we got a lot of fun stuff to do at the bottom here too, but I usually save this part for last, but I want to take the white paint and do all the highlights. So not the rays so much for the cross, but I am going to put a few white highlights there because that yellow is dry. And then I'm going to put a little streak in her hat. And you know, I painted this black, but it could be dark purple for you. And then I am taking a tiny, tiny bit of white paint on this brush. And I am going over her bun. First, just lightly on the edges. And then just a few little curves here and there in the middle. Okay? So just trust yourself to do that. If you have a little piece of chalk, you can chalk it in first. But then there's a little dot in the middle of her bun. So there's just a few little curves. You can even, I did it with the flat tip paintbrush, but you have two different size brushes. You might want to use this paintbrush for that. And let's say you don't like the way it looks. Wait for it to dry, paint over it in black, and try it again, okay? With that little bit of white I have on my paintbrush, I'm going to put a few, I have too much white. I just want a little tiny bit of white, and I'm going to put some highlights on her dress. Okay. And a little highlight on her booty, on her hips, and a few little white highlights on here. Now make sure that it's dry before you start messing around with the highlights, because it kind of takes away from the boldness of the white. Okay, you want it to be nice and clean and popping, the white. I'm taking that pointy paintbrush, the pointed paintbrush, and I'm just going to put a few little dots here. I don't have enough paint on this brush. For her bracelet, her pearls. And I'm just just a dot on there. And again, if you don't like how it turned out, wait for it to dry, paint around it, over it, and then do it again. Okay, so I hope I was not going too fast for you, but if I was, I'm sorry. Pause me. I'm going to do those rays that come out. They're a little tricky because it's done with a dry paintbrush. So I switched this paintbrush around, the flat tip one. I'm going to dry it off like really good, okay? Then I'm going to go into my white paint, put it on the tip of my brush. I'm going to wipe it off because I don't want that much. So just a very little bit of white paint, and then I'm going to do the rays. So I took too much off, so I'm going to wipe it off. And I'm just going to come right out and make sure that I get it in that purple so you can see that it's rays coming out from there. Okay, so that's a dry paintbrush, very little bit of paint. And that represents the rays. And make sure you get it into the purple or it won't have that effect, okay? All right, so those are the rays. Catch your care. The fun part, at the bottom, you need to find your Q-tip, which I don't have one, but I think I have one behind this canvas, so just one moment. I did. Okay. So there's a Q-tip in your kit, and that's for the fun stuff at the bottom. Now, if there isn't a Q-tip in your kit, because there's a slight chance that there's not, you can use the pointed paintbrush, or you can use the corner of the flat tip paintbrush. So don't freak out on me if you don't have a Q-tip. The Q-tip just makes it kind of fun. And what we're going to do with the Q-tip is we're going to create this fluff at the bottom, okay? So with the Q-tip, I'm going to go right into the purple paint. And I am just going to put dots all at the bottom for the fluff at the bottom of her dress, okay? And I need it to dry just a little bit before I layer the next. So we're going to do the next color. We're going to do purple, then we're going to do lavender, and then we're going to do white last, okay? So I did purple first. You really actually don't need it to dry too much because when you put white on top of it, it's going to kind of look lavender. That's where your lavender color is going to come from. So I did purple, and then I didn't wait for it to dry. I went right into the white so I could get the lavender effect. I'm using the same side of my Q-tip. This right on top of the purple. And there's even a little bit of black in there. You might not see it, but I'm going to take a little tiny bit of black because it's so powerful. I'm going to go right on top of that with the black. And then I'm going to go back into the purple. And I'm just going to have fun with it until you get it how you like it, okay? The important thing for me is I don't want to see any brown coming through there. So you keep working on that fluff until you don't see any brown coming through there anymore. Now you're probably thinking, what about the microphone? Were you thinking that? The microphone was not pre-traced for you because I didn't know how relevant it was. I thought it was kind of cute when I actually did the painting. But when I did this painting, I didn't know if I was going to make it a paint party painting. I was just kind of doing it. So the microphone is optional. If you choose to do the microphone, it's very easy. You're going to use a piece of chalk that you have in your kit. Draw the hump. Draw the straight line. Draw the oval for the microphone and just paint it in. And you have a little gray paint for the microphone. So I would recommend using your piece of chalk and chalking it out first. And then, I don't have any chalk with me right now. Do I have chalk? Oh, look at that. I do have chalk. I'm going to show you what I mean. If you want the microphone in there, you're going to draw the little hump right here on the brown. Draw the microphone on that wood. You're going to draw a straight line up. Hope you can see it because I'm using white on this. And then you're going to draw like a little oval for the microphone. and a little squiggly line for the cord. Okay, so you're going to have to use your creative drawing skills, which is, it's a hump, a line, an oval, and a squiggle. It's not really hard, right? And then you're going to use your black paint, and I'm going to use a fine tip one. See, I felt sorry for you guys because I didn't want you to be frustrated and be like, oh man, she's not going to show me how to draw the microphone. So here I am, I'm doing it. So this is what you should have did with the chalk. You're going right over it so you can see, because that white didn't show up too good. Microphone is about even with her shoulder. So this is what you would have drawn with the chalk before you use your creativity to fill it all in and paint it correctly, or how you want it. There is no correct way, right? And then the little squiggly line, this is what I just did with the chalk. I was just concerned that you probably were not able to see it because of the white. Alright? And then you use your creativity to finish it up by using your reference photo. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've taken you 90% through this painting. Cast your care. I hope that you enjoyed this little tutorial. There are many, many more. I ship kits all over the country if you'd like to ship one to a friend. Or if you live locally in Las Vegas, you just text the word paint to me, tell me what kit you want, and you pick it up curbside. I hope you guys have fun. Cast your care. Stay in prayer. There's some crazy times that we're in right now. And I always say this, don't forget to sign your painting because it's a representation of who you are in this moment. It's valuable. That's important. And secondly, send me pictures, emails, follow me on Facebook. I want to see your masterpiece. I love this painting. I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Cast your care. Be safe.